Hello everyone. In today's video, I'm going to interview my good friend and fellow coin dealer, Tony. Tony was up in Minot at the Minot flea market, so I stopped out and paid him a visit. He has over 35 years of experience in the collecting and precious metal investing hobbies and has a lot of great information and insight to share. In today's interview, we're going to talk about why we both feel you should own 90% silver. We're also going to talk about the gold and silver markets as well and how the high prices in gold have impacted demand on silver. And he's also going to discuss some experiences he had at a coin auction where most items sold for well over retail value. He'll discuss the pitfalls and how to avoid them, so you make sure you buy things right if you're ever in a coin auction setting. But we got a lot of great things to unpack and discuss, and there's some cool coins we're going to showcase as well. Make sure you stick around. Hey everyone, I'm out at the Minot flea market and I'm joined by my friend, Tony. Tony, how are you doing today?
Doing good.
Good. Tony, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself for those of you who have never met you before?
I live in Bismarck, North Dakota. I have collected coins for 35 years off and on. A couple years ago, I decided I was going to start selling at least part of my collection and maybe go more into silver stacking, but I continue to buy and sell. Love the habit, and it keeps me out of trouble.
Well, that's good. So it looks like you got quite a few things here. In the intro, I filmed some of the things you had out for sale today. You got a good variety of collectibles, and you brought some bullion as well. Your prices are very good, I'll tell you that. Do you have any favorite pieces out here you want to show the camera?
Actually,
I know what you're gonna grab, maybe.
We're gonna... This one and this one.
Okay, why don't you tell us about those two coins?
I just recently went to an auction, and auctions are so... We always have to be so careful because a lot of things will go over retail and some things will go way under retail or at a decent price. And I picked up both these items at the last auction I was at. The 1803 sold in my personal opinion, way underpriced. And the 1870, was it 77 cc?
Yep.
Seated Liberty quarter, I had purchased in a bag of worn Seated Liberty quarters.
Really? So this was just in a bag with a bunch of worn out ones?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. Two very nice pieces.
And the 1803, I've never had that early of a large cent, so.
Okay, yeah, well thank you for sharing that. Those are both two really nice pickups. So, you know, I'm gonna just ask you a question based on what you said in the intro. You're a collector for 35 plus years.
Yeah.
And you're starting to thin it out a little to start.
That's what I keep telling myself.
To start stacking precious metal. Now, I've seen that phenomenon a lot in my shop, so you're not alone there. And quite frankly, I'm doing the same thing. Why are you doing it?
I just keep wondering about how long we can keep kicking that bucket down the road before there's an economical collapse.
Right.
I hope it never happens. You know, having money in stocks and bonds is a good thing, but having money in precious metals, because one day we could wake up and stocks and bonds could be worth zero, but precious metals will always be worth something.
True. I agree 100%. And I think that's why most people are doing what you had mentioned. You know, thinning out collectibles, selling them off, and buying bullion. And I've had that happen a lot in the shop. And are you seeing customers doing that? Have you had anybody at this flea market here trying to sell you stuff?
I didn't have anybody I had one person offer presidential dollars, which I do not buy or sell. But the people that have been buying, the majority of it has been in the silver. And I had one person buy. I actually had a different Mercury dime book set up that had, it was a Dansko album, and it was a little higher end dimes, but they purchased that book.
Okay, great.
So, you know, it was a collectible. I actually had more people buying. I had one person buy all my Walking Liberty $half on Friday, and that's the only thing that made Friday worth it. But I've had a lot of people actually buying my Roosevelt dimes.
Okay, yeah, well you're priced right. That's a good price. So if for those of you who don't own 90% silver, this is what I'm filming right now. Why do you think it's important to have 90%? I'm assuming you have some in your personal stack. Most stackers do.
I like the smaller portions. If we ever do need it to trade, you don't know how much you're going to need. An ounce of silver for a bigger purchase, but if you know if somebody wants 2 silver dimes and all you have is an ounce of silver, then it complicates things.
Yeah, how do you make change then?
Yeah. And that's when, you know, in the old days, they would take the silver dollars, or I believe the 8 reals that were really popular in the beginning of our country. They would cold chisel into half and quarters to make change.
Right.
But if we already have it, then we don't need to do something like that.
Yeah, it'd be nice not have to shave off pieces of silver to transact if we get to that. So that's why it's important, like Tony said, to have this. It's already fractional. It's already recognizable. There's understood value. It's easy to calculate. So that's why a lot of people gravitate towards 90%. Can I ask you about gold? We didn't talk about this before we started filming, but I noticed you brought a piece of gold. And for those of you watching, many of you probably know, gold actually hit an all-time high for the daily closing price this past Friday. I believe we're 2,083 and change, something like that. So how do you think a higher than ever gold price impacts people's interest in silver? Because Tony, I think we've talked about this before, you and I think we both agree that silver's undervalued in relation to gold. It's even more so now because gold it closed at an all-time high. It's at higher prices intraday, don't get me wrong, but it closed at an all-time high. Does that, in your mind, force more people to buy silver then?
Yes, and I think both the metals, gold and silver, are undervalued, especially the silver. I question if the market isn't manipulated to some extent out there, but I'm not an expert, so I can't say for sure.
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of the consensus is that, yeah, the market's manipulated. To what degree? The average person like you and I, we have no idea. But it impacts the value of our own stack, which is frustrating. But on the other hand, I feel it's on sale. I mean, I truly do. I mean,
silver, yes.
Silver, yes.
Yep.
I absolutely feel that silver's on sale, and I'm just going to keep plugging away and keep adding to my pile as long as I can at these cheap prices. So.
And a lot of people don't. They can't put it in their mind that silver and gold goes up and down. You buy it when it's low.
Right.
And now, as you said, it's on sale. You know, this is the time, if you can afford it, purchase it.
Sure, absolutely. Well, yeah, well, that's really interesting, Tony, and I appreciate you bringing that up. You talked about the auction earlier on, and I know there's some other things you wanted to talk about that you saw at that auction. Do you want to give us some words on that?
You know, people go to auctions to get deals. And a lot of times at coin auctions, people are paying retail plus for items. They get caught up into the auction fever, and they need to be able to set their price and stop at that price.
Right. And
don't get into headbutting with somebody trying to buy something unless it's something you drastically need.
Do you have any examples of things that, now you're talking, you were at an auction that had coins, right?
I went, there was a set of Benjamin Franklin $half, all circulated, and so there was 35 coins.
Yep.
And the set sold for, when I figured it out, approximately about $12.60 a coin.
Right.
Which is, you know, $3 over
junk silver price.
Over $3 of junk silver, and that's what the coins were worth.
Right. So really, about over $100 too much.
Yep.
In your opinion, versus you could pick out every one of those coins out of a junk silver bin in a coin shop.
Right. Circulate.
And save $100. So that's, you know, that amounts to about $3 a coin.
And
so that's a big difference.
And then there was a set of Walking Liberty $half, 30 coins that it dated from 1937 through 45, and including the 38D.
Yep. And
that set sold for $220. Now,
did you buy it?
I will show you.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know the 1938D, and Tony's going to show it to us.
That is the 38D that was in there.
Yeah, that's one of the keys to the collection here. Well, here, I'm going to pick it up so I can get a little better, clearer video. But yeah, 1938D, no matter what the condition, is better than junk silver. So in those situations, you know, Tony had the knowledge and the wherewithal to notice that there was a good coin within that group, and he was able to buy the set at a good price. So that's great.
But yeah, and it sold just a little bit under silver price.
Right. So the moral of the story is, there's not always incredible deals at auctions, but sometimes if you know what you're looking for and you wait. Now, did this happen near the end?
Yep. The Walking $half was closer to the end, and the Benjamin Franklin's was about in the first third of the coins.
Right.
So again, you got to know what you're buying. You got to know your silver prices, and just because it's a complete set of Benjamin Franklin's, you're paying over the price of what it's worth. Might take you a long time to get that back out.
Right. Yeah, you're gonna have to have silver go up. Well, if you overpaid $3 on a $9 coin, that's 33%.
Yep.
So yeah, you're gonna have to see a big jump. You're gonna have to see, based on today's price, what would that be? Over $30 silver, $32, $33 silver, just to get it back.
Because if you're trying to sell it, even as a set, you'll always have somebody offering you closer to whatever the current silver price is.
Right.
And not giving you much of a premium just because it's a full set.
Right, and part of it is too, there aren't really any keys to the series in the Franklin set in circulated coins. Yep. Once they're all circulated, they all can go in the junk silver bin. So
right.
That's just good for future reference. For those of you who don't know, Tony sets up, or has set up in the past at our coin show in Minot. There's a coin show in Bismarck setting up soon.
April.
Is that something you're participating in, or you're going to be a customer?
They sold out the tables.
Oh boy.
Quicker than I realized that they would, and so I'm a maybe person, and
you're on the waiting list.
And I will only get one table if I get a table.
Right. If you don't get a table, are you still going?
Of course.
Yeah, as a customer, and I plan to drive down one of the 2 days too, just to check it out and say hi to everybody. So when I'm down there, I'll be sure to get some footage, and I'll probably bump into you, and we'll say hi to Tony too, so everybody can check in on you. But I appreciate you taking the time today. Like I said, you did bring out a nice variety of stuff, and I wish you continued success out here at the flea market, and you take care. Any parting words?
Buy low, sell high. remember, it's not a short-term gain, it's a long-term gain.
Yep.
And metal will always be worth something.
That's true. That's great advice, Tony. Thanks again for your time. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Thanks.